gotta find me an angel.
You're listening to the Life After Loss podcast. This show is a safe place for angel moms and angel dads who have lost a child. It's a safe place to share, cry, celebrate, and connect to a community of parents who have experienced grief and gotten through it. Here's your host, Darcea Handy.
Angel moms and dads and everyone who's joining us today, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Life After Loss podcast. We have something to talk about today that just had me heated. So earlier this week, Britney Spears, she's a famous pop artist. She actually let the world know that she has been under reproductive, basically her rights have been taken away from her. I'm going to say her reproductive freedom has been taken away from her. She is forced to have an IUD inside, which interferes with the opportunity for her to get pregnant. Now, this is a young woman. Number one, no one should have the right to say what you do with your body. That's number one. Number two, she can afford it. And number three, which is most important, she is not alone. This is a practice in the United States that dates back way back to slavery. Women of color and slaves were forced to carry children for experiments. They were forced by doctors to participate in experiments on their reproductive system. As a matter of fact, what you may not know is the reproductive those studies that were done and those inhumane experiments that were done, those actually contributed to a little bit of what we see in gynecological medicine today. If those trials and experiments hadn't been done, maybe we would have a bigger population. We don't know. But my point is this: no one has the right to our reproductive rights. Now, let's look at Britney Spears. Britney Spears, she's a pop artist. She's a white woman and she's wealthy, and her rights have been taken away. Now, yes, something happened years ago and her parents took over for her, basically her dad. He was in charge of her money, which he still is in charge of her money. But being in charge of whether or not she can have a child, that's not his place because she's already grown. So he had no right to that. Now, she's someone, I just described her, white woman with money, of age, means best healthcare possible. What about those who are in marginalized communities, lower income families, or people who just don't have a say in what happens to their own body? As a matter of fact, as early as September of 2020, a whistleblower actually pointed out that there are some immigrant detainees who are being forced to have hysterectomies without their consent. Forced. You know, I mean, someone's taking your right away from you. The right to have a baby, have a child, carry a child. That's no one's place. You cannot force someone into your beliefs. Now, let me say this real quick. I know everybody, I'm going to have to do it. Everybody gets so excited and so filled when it's time to vote for presidential elections. You need to vote in your local elections and your state elections. You know why? Because that's how these laws are being passed. That's how these laws. It's so many states where women don't have control over their bodies any longer. You can go to jail for having something done. Or sometimes, let me tell you this, physicians will make a recommendation to you that might not be best for you. Sometimes there are women who have gone in, they may have had a miscarriage, and they go in to get checked. And sometimes a physician, while they're there, will say, oh, okay, we're going to go ahead and do an IUD or do an ID incision and dilation and courage. I'm sorry, a DC. And unfortunately is to, get the remaining fetus that's in the body out of the body. But that's a very tricky procedure, and that can cause problems in your uterus, and it can cause problems in your cervix and everything, and you'll never know it. I found out from one of my angel moms this week that she experienced 3 losses 3. She lost 3 babies full term. 3 babies that she had to put in the ground. And I'm going to tell you why. No one told her about the purse stitch, which I talked about a little while ago. Nobody. So finally, she went for a second opinion and someone told her about the purse stitch. She got the purse stitch, which sewed up her cervix, and she was able to carry a child full term and deliver a healthy baby. So you see, Britney Spears, her story has brought attention to a much needed topic. You know, we suffer in silence all the time because we think, hey, that's just the way it has to be. Oh, that's just the way it's supposed to be. And we believe whatever we're told. I told you all a couple of weeks ago, take charge of your health. It is so important to be in charge of your own reproductive health. This is a young woman. Britney Spears is a young woman, no matter if you like her or not. This is not about her just as a person. This is about this whole system that's set up to control women. This is about misogyny. Who has the right to tell this woman she cannot remove her IUD? And by the way, it's not good to have foreign objects in your body like that for a long time anyway. And by the way, who's checking on her? Who's looking at her? Who's taking care of her? And what does her father have to do with it? All the money he has, she's making. That's her money anyway. She can have as many children as she wants to because she can afford to have those children. You know, we've got to change. We are in 2021 in what is supposed to be the most advanced country in the world. And we're still exercising old misogynistic thoughts. We're still not allowed to have rights over our own reproductive body. You mean to tell me in 2021, a grown, wealthy, white woman doesn't have control over her own reproductive system? Well, I mean, and that's privilege. And that's not even me speaking. I'm quoting that out of an article that was written by her attorney, that is her privilege. That's privilege. So what about those who don't have those privileges? What about those who go in for a procedure and the doctor tells you, okay, you're going to have your tubes tied. You need to just have your tubes tied. Oh, this will get better. Or, you know, if you go in and say, oh, I can't get pregnant. And I've heard about this procedure you can do, open my fallopian tubes or check my fallopian tubes to see if they're blocked. Oh, you don't need that. Oh, your insurance doesn't cover that, but they'll cover this. Listen, check it out for yourself. Find out for yourself. If you are having any type of reproductive issues, that includes endometriosis, if you have bad menstrual cramps or pains, or just anything, fibroids, get that looked at. Take care of yourself. Take control of your health. And let me tell you something. If you are seeing a physician who is not going to check you out the way you want to, go and see someone else. Doctors can be fired. You have the right to see who you want to see. And while you have that right, exercise that right over your body. Get your body checked out. Get your reproductive system checked out. And if you get some news that you're not okay with, then get a second opinion. You know, this breaks my heart for Britney Spears, that she can't enjoy the birth of more children. I mean, she has 2 sons, and I think they're like preteens right now. I'm not really sure of their ages. But who's to say she didn't want to try for a daughter or try for 1 or 2 or 3 more kids? It's not fair, you guys. And we have to stop sleeping on stuff like this. We have to talk about this. Let me tell you something here at Life After Loss. We advocate for maternity health and we advocate for reproductive rights. We advocate for women here. We advocate for our fathers too. But right now, I'm talking about our women. We have to be in control of our bodies. You don't know what could happen. You don't know what, if someone does something in the office, you don't know what that could do to you later on. Another thing, when we're getting these biopsies for fibroids in our reproductive system, and the doctors are saying, hey, oh, it's not going to hurt. It's just going to feel like a little pinch. That is not true. That's barbaric. I've had it done, and I was in tears. I was in tears. It's barbaric. If your doctor tells you that you need to have anything invasive done in your reproductive system, you need to request lidocaine or you need to request an in-office procedure or something in outpatient. Don't allow, and I'm not talking about a pap smear, I'm talking about a procedure. A biopsy, they always say, oh, that can just be done in the office. They don't want to take the time to do the paperwork, the insurance to file to get you into a comfortable place. That's painful and it is barbaric. These types of things have to stop. These are our bodies. Our reproductive organs are our own. And I'm serious about it. We stand with Britney, free Britney, and every other marginalized population of women who have to endure, and children. Young ladies go through it too. I don't even want to start with what happens to young ladies. Some young ladies, they have no control over what happens to them. You know, we look at teenage pregnancy out. That's enough. We'll talk about that at another time. You think sometimes we say, oh, these kids are so grown. You don't know what has been going on in their past. Reproductive health. Let me tell you this too. Some parents are like, oh, I don't want my kids to take, birth control pills. Let me tell you something. Sometimes birth control pills are prescribed to young ladies who have really, really hard menstrual cramps. I know because I went through that really hard. I was bedridden all the time. Now, where I live, in the state that I live in, and this is why I say talk to you, make sure you know who you vote for. In the state where I live in, reproductive health, no, we're not talking about that any longer. No, you're not getting birth control pills any longer. No, we're not going to do that because that's going to make kids want to have sex. But actually, they were prescribed to help with my menstrual cramps. Laying in the bed, tossing and turning, not doing anything with anyone, just trying to get relief, and they help. But guess what? If you don't stand up, watch who you're voting for, look at everything, all the laws that are being passed right in front of you, you're going to miss it. And where are we going to be? We don't want to be in a place like some places where they only allow 2 children to be born at a time. This is barbaric, you guys. This has to change. So with that, I'm sorry. I know this. I'm heated about this today. You can drop down in the comments. Let me know what you think about this. It's not fair. It's not right. It's not fair for those marginalized communities, the people of color, and the people who are low income. I know people talk about controlling the population, but let me tell you something. You don't have a right. Nobody has a right to your reproductive organs. And with that, I will say, free Britney. Give that woman her reproductive freedom that she very richly deserves. She can afford it. And it's her choice. As a citizen of this country, she should have that freedom like everyone else. Angel moms and dads, and everyone joining us, I appreciate you. I love each and every one of you. Be sure to go to ShelettaMakesMeLaugh.com and click on podcasts and sign up for all of our wonderful podcasts and sign up for the Life After Loss podcast. Let's get into this conversation. I want you all to drop down in the comments and let you know what you think of this. I'm just curious to hear how you guys feel about this. All right. And with that, take care of yourselves and each other. Until next time.
You've been listening to Life After Loss with your host, Darcea Handy. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcast for new episodes every Wednesday. For more on this program, log on to ShelettaMakesMeLaugh.com.